Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is huge for us. Brooke and I are really excited about the guest that we have here today because there's so much information and knowledge to touch on, but we want to go really deep with this guest because she is full of information, but she also has a lived story and testament to why this work she's doing is so powerful. So we want to welcome Dr. Wendie Trubow, the author of Dirty Girl, this book that will change your world, improve your health, all of the things. We can't wait to dive into all of it. So thank you for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
You are who I needed 6 years ago, a year ago, today. We're so grateful that you are a vessel, that this is a vessel to give our audience access to you. You are a functional medicine practitioner. For those listening who aren't familiar with functional medicine, will you just give a little nugget on what that is and why it's maybe different than what they think?
Yeah, I guess the easiest way to think of it is, all those things you go to the doctor for, and they say to you, "Oh, you're just getting older." So functional medicine's goal is to actually figure out the cause of all those things that you just attribute to getting older. And in my world, most of the time it tracks back to some type of environmental or eaten or pesticide or some type of toxin that's making you sick. Either too much of a good thing or too much of a bad thing or too little of a good thing. All of those can make you sick.
Yeah, I would say they get to the root cause.
Yes.
In my
100%.
experience, when I went to modern medicine, which we chatted a bit about before we recorded, it was being dismissed and it was saying, you're just stressed. It's probably because you're traveling. And now knowing what I know, I understand the link between our brain and our gut and how stress did play. But no one sat down and told me all of the things that I wish they would have, that you've beautifully put in a book. And when you say toxins, let's kind of explain what you mean by that.
Let's back up even a step further, okay? You're meant to be vital, vibrant, healthy, able and interested in intimacy until at least 100, and every decade is meant to get better than the one before. So you're like a fine wine. You're going to age well. But most of us are not on that trajectory, okay? And we live on this earth, and it's hard living on this earth, and we don't have any other option, so we better make the best of what we've got. So when you're talking about toxins, there's three major ways you get exposed to them. One, you put it in your body. That is your food, the herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives, sugar, alcohol. The things you put in your body are things that can expose you to toxins. Then there's especially for women, we're so focused on beauty. And you look, I'm into being good looking, right? Like I'm invested in this. So I am a prime person I'm primed to essentially buy everything because I'm getting older. I'm 53. So I'm like, oh yeah, give me anything that'll make me look like a child, right? So all the things we put on our bodies, so hair coloring, hair products, shampoo, conditioner, makeup, facial serums, lipsticks, lotions, the clothes we take to the dry cleaner, all of these can have chemicals in them, especially if they're from other countries and the source of them isn't tracked well. They can be toxic for you. Anything from formaldehyde to artificial colors to parabens, phthalates, PFAS, endocrine disrupting agents, pro-cancer forming agents. So there's a whole long list of things. And as a female, by the time we sit down for our day, whether that's paid or not, we are exposed to up to 250 chemicals any given day, just from what we're putting on our bodies. So that's the second category, and that's pretty big for us. And then also pretty big is everything that's around us. So you can't see it, but I'm sitting on this vegan leather chair. And vegan leather's all the rage, which is great because no cow is harmed, except it's plastic. It's plastic. And so we're sitting on this endocrine disrupting chair, and we're sitting with air quality and EMFs. And if we drive in cars or on public transportation, there's about 10,000 chemicals in each of those. If we clean our homes with things that are toxic, we get exposed there. If we like to have our homes smell a certain way and use either air fresheners or sprays, the thing that makes those sprays stick around is endocrine disrupting. That means it's messing up your thyroid, your adrenals, your male and female hormones, your fertility, your periods. So, and then you think about, okay, if you live near a golf course or a industrial plant or a farm or a highway, these are all extremely toxic environments, and we're getting the off-gassing from the plastic, from the chemicals, from the pesticides. Nature doesn't like monoculture. Golf courses like monoculture. And in order to get at monoculture, they have to spray a lot so that weeds don't grow. But nature doesn't like that, so you got to spray more. So all of those things are exposing us to tons of chemicals and they build up. And if it were just one, right, just one, yes, your liver could deal with it. But it's not just one. It's what you're eating, it's what you're putting on your body, it's what's around you. And that's all on top of how much are you sleeping? How much are you eating? What are you eating? Are you a stress ball? Do you move your body? What's your genetic makeup? So it all comes together in this final end product, which is your health. Okay, I just said a lot. Let me stop.
I love it. Well, and I love that you wrote this book, right? Because what you're saying, like, I already feel my body tight. Like, I'm getting stressed sitting here thinking about it because it's not just me. I have 3 kids. And so I get really worked up and stressed because I know I am responsible for their safety and the chemicals I'm putting in their home. I'm the one purchasing them. I'm the one that's in charge of my education. And so I want to just say, like, when you feel like you're getting stressed and like this is too much and you want to just shut down and not listen, is to allow yourself the opportunity to be imperfect at this. We live in a world where there's a lot that we can't control. But what we want to focus on today is tuning into your body and how you're feeling. Maybe you're noticing your hair is thinning, or you have headaches or stomach aches, or you probably shouldn't have bleach in your house because it smells for days. Like all these little things that are like little things we can do because we are responsible for our health. And if you're a parent, it's important that you know these things because you can run into health issues like Brooke has and like Dr. Wendie has. And so we really want to talk about that, like how all these toxins can create a situation where your health becomes something you have to think about. So can you talk a bit about your story and how you had to detoxify your life and how you kind of got into really thinking about these things?
Yeah, you bet. It really, my mess became my message because I've been in the functional medicine world for almost 15 years and I thought I was doing everything right? Except there was this massive category of things I wasn't addressing because I don't know, I wasn't trained in it, didn't think about it. So in 2018, we went on this amazing vacation. Was it 2018? Now I'm like hazy on time. I think it was 18. So I go on this amazing vacation and I come home from vacation and I gained 10 pounds after my vacation. So it wasn't during my vacation, it was afterwards. I gained 10 pounds. My hair was coming out in clumps, not just thinning, but like coming out. And then I had this rash. It was so irritating, ladies. It was on my eyelids, my nose, under my chin. And, I was seeing patients. I'd be like, I cannot rip my face off while I'm talking to people. And I also had fatigue and brain fog. And, I'm in functional medicine and also I'm human. So whenever you gain weight and lose hair, the very first thing that every human thinks of is my thyroid must be off. And so I checked my thyroid. I can order labs on myself. So I did. And it was perfect. So that's great, but that didn't give me access to what's actually happening. So then the next thought I had was, well, I'm 48. Yes, it was 2018. So I was 48, and I was like, well, maybe maybe it's my hormones, right? Because I'm perimenopausal, and when your hormones go off, it'll throw you off. And so I checked that. That looks great. And then I'm like, okay, I'm a functional medicine doc. I can do this. All disease starts in the gut. Let's check my gut. And my gut looked pretty good. Now I have celiac disease. I have terrible genetics. I had candida. I just have a really messy gut. And it looked good. Okay, so that's not the answer. So now I'm kind of stumped. And then I read this report that when Notre Dame burned, it released over 500, almost 500 tons of lead dust into the surrounding community. And the closer you were to Notre Dame, the more you got. And the farther you were, the less you got. That makes sense. And I spent a week in Notre Dame right after it burned. That's the week we had our vacation. And I didn't go to Notre Dame inside because they were renovating it, but we spent a week right there. And the week when I came home was when I got sick. So I got a lead exposure. And when I read that, I went, oh my God, I got a lead. We all got a lead exposure. I took all my kids, my husband, my mother-in-law, my mom, but I was the one who was sick. I'm like the canary in the coal mine. And so I tested myself for lead and my levels were 25% higher than they had been in the past. Doctors are horrible patients. It was slightly positive in the past. And I was like, oh, how bad could it be? Knowing now what I didn't know then, it's bad, right? Like it really is bad. And then I tested my mycotoxins, which are what mold puts out when it's inside you. And I had 5 strains of that. Okay. Then I was like, well, I've tested all this. I might as well test everything. So I tested the environmental toxins, which comes up as the 17-page report. And it's things like plastics, phthalates, styrene, flame retardants, gasoline fumes, nail polish. And I came up as positive for half that stuff. And it's at this point where this book was born because I said to my husband, I'm such a dirty girl. And we're writing that book because I'm the poster child for healthy living. And if I have all of this, what does everyone else have? And indeed, when you take a step back and go, okay, autoimmune disease is significantly higher now than it was even 10 years ago. In fact, the national spending on international spending on autoimmune disease is 7 times greater now than it was 10 years ago. Diabetes is on the rise, heart disease is on the rise, cancer is on the rise, cancer at an early age is on the rise. All this stuff is messing with us. And it all tracks back to toxins. So let me pause there.
So what did you do? Right, you get this report. What were the steps that you took? Because I think everyone listening, ourselves included, are like, okay, we get it. Something needs to be done. But what you said earlier, there's a million things you can do. So what are some of the things that you can get the most bang for your buck that you really started to shift?
Okay, so there's like 3 parts to this. I like 3s apparently. So one thing it's important to remember is that I came into my toxin issue, shall we say? We'll call it an issue. I came into the issue already having spent 13 years in functional medicine where I focus on my gut, my movement, my food, my sleep, my stress reduction. So you can't do detox on a broken foundation. You need to take care of your body. And so detox is the top of that pyramid. The foundation of it is your food, your sleep, your sweat, your movement, your stress reduction, your relationships with yourself and others. Those are the foundation of the platform that we're standing on. You have to address that first. Okay. Let's assume you've addressed that. Now, what's a girl to do? Okay. So I'm a huge fan of test, don't guess, because you don't know what you're treating otherwise. Having said that, you have 80% of the agency here in order to be able to improve your life. And that less 20% is what you do with me. But you can do 80% of it before you get to me. So that's what we should probably focus on. So what did I do? I had the data. I started to do medical protocols to remove the toxins. That's the getting it out of me. But then how do we not put more in while we're taking it out, right? We want to empty the pump and not fill it too. So that's been a process, okay? It is a process. I have screwed up more times than you can count. I had to school my husband a whole bunch because at one point we did this experiment because I'm pretty overloaded. So we did an experiment to see if he would take over the food shopping. That was an epic fail. I just have to say. Epic fail. So he comes home, we have 4 kids. We have a live-in nanny. My mom and my mother-in-law are over a lot. So we go through a lot of food. So he comes home and I'm looking at the food and I go, hey, you bought non-organic blueberries. Are you aware of that? He goes, yeah, the blueberries that were organic were a lot more expensive. What? Yes, it is more expensive. It is more expensive. But you're either going to pay for better quality food now or you're going to pay to remedy the problems that poor quality food causes later. So it just depends if your philosophy is prevention or cleanup.
I love it too that 2 doctors are like having the same argument that 2 anything else are having of like, well, they were so expensive,
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Apparently I'm going to take back the food shopping. Right. And then this pandemic thing happened and I haven't gone back in the store since. All I've done is just do electronic shopping, which works for me well. And then I get organic. So that was an epic fail to have my husband take over the food shopping. His intentions were good, but it didn't work out the way we hoped. So anyway, you have a lot of agency here. So when you're looking at it, separate it into 3 categories. So the first is food is medicine. You are what you eat and you eat every day. So let's start with food because it's accessible. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better. Okay. And I know that sort of goes counterculture to all of our, striving, and you don't have to be perfect. Okay. Like last night, I was like, okay, I need a little salty snack. So I had some of those good life chips, because I need a snack. And it was perfect because there was this much left in the container. And I'm like, what of my kids did not finish the package? If it were me, I'd finish the package and throw it out. So I felt honor bound to finish the package and throw it out. But anyway, start with food. So whenever possible, aim for organic. Use the environmental working group Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. What is that? Okay, the Dirty Dozen are those 12 foods that are the dirtiest. They're the most pesticide laden, the ones that, if ever possible, you should buy those organic if possible. And then the Clean 15 are ones that if your budget doesn't allow you to be 100% organic, you can also do these fruits and vegetables that are not organic and be reasonably safe. Okay. Again, we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for improvement.
I'm just thinking of examples. I know one of the dirtiest is like apples, right? And one of the ones that you could probably get away with not getting organic would be like a banana because it has a peel, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, stuff you peel is often better. But I will say it's so funny. My mom has this thing about bananas, and she doesn't even really eat bananas, but she only buys organic. I'm like, what's up, Mom? So it turns out that bananas are a monoculture now, and remember, nature doesn't like a monoculture. So bananas ideally should be purchased organic because the monoculture is destroying like the rest of the environment down where they grow bananas. So it's better to purchase organic if possible. But yes, from an exposure standpoint, you're better off getting things that are, if they're not organic, that you can peel. So avocados, bananas, things that berries are very contaminated. So you're going to want to aim for those for organic. You can go for frozen. If the fresh is too costly, you can go for frozen because you can get organic at a much better price frozen. The grains are universally contaminated with glyphosate, which is the #1 herbicide in the world. So wherever possible, it's not always possible, wherever possible, minimize your grains and so that's your cereals, your breads, your oatmeals, your flours, the baked goods, all of that stuff is contaminated with glyphosate. And that glyphosate doesn't harm your gut directly, but it harms the bacteria that keep your gut healthy. And so it also harms the birds and the bees. I know it's not a sex conversation, but it does harm the insects, which harms the birds. And then it's toxic to bees. And if there's no bees, there's no food. And so it's very harmful for the ecology of our health. And so minimizing your grains is another step. And then if you're going to purchase or eat meat or flesh, the goal would be purchase and eat grass-fed, grass-finished, or organic so that you're not getting the herbicides and the pesticides. They are not allowed to use hormones in meat, but they can feed them on feed that's poor quality. And if you subscribe to that you are what you eat, if you're eating a cow or a chicken that ate poor quality food, the quality of the meat is actually different. They've studied it. It really is. It does different things in your body. It's healthier for you to eat grass-fed if you can. So wherever possible, eat grass-fed. And if you don't eat flesh, cool. Just try not to eat tons of bread and pasta as in the replacement for the meat.
I love it. So much information. And I think you do a beautiful job of laying it out on the consumer journey or even the patient journey, right? Like, where are you? We talked a little earlier before we started recording about Maslow's hierarchy of needs of if you are in survival mode, you are not sleeping. That's got to be the first step before you're thinking about organic or non-organic. What meeting yourself where you're at. And you talk a lot about stress. And as you're mentioning these different things, I think about the financial stress of getting organic. And I think about thinking about grocery shopping and just how much we have on our plate these days and how much stress affects us. So can you speak a little bit about stress and how maybe that's where people should start and why if it's out of whack, it's going to have even more negative effects on you?
Yeah, 100%. So imagine you're driving down the road. Okay, I'll give you a story. I'm in California with my husband. We're on vacation. I have 4 kids. We brought all of our kids and my mom to California with us to take this little vacation. And we left them in Palm Springs because it's so nice there. And we had to go to LA for a day for a meeting. Okay, because we don't take any trips unless they're work related. We do some work. So, okay, we're driving from Palm Springs to LA. And in California, they had these massive barriers on the left-hand side. We were in the left lane. And right against the left lane are these like 10-foot concrete barriers. I don't know what they were doing. But anyway, We're in the left lane, and out of the corner of my eye, there's us, there's a car to the right lane in front of us, and then there's another car to the lane next to them, but slightly in front of them. So out of the corner of my eye, I see, and my husband's driving, I see the car 2 lanes over kind of swerve into our lane. Not our lane, the lane next to us, but there's a car there. And I was like, oh, they're going to swerve into us, and we have nowhere to go because that's a wall. So I start yelling, brake, 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 brake. And my husband trusts, we've been married a long time. So he's like, okay, sure. So he brakes. Thankfully, there's no one behind us. We watch the car in the lane over swerve right into where we were, where we had stopped, we had gotten out of. And everyone's safe. Nothing happened, okay? Nobody was hit. No accident happened. We didn't total our car. We didn't leave our kids parentless. None of that happened. But for the next 2 days, I was like this, like jittery, anxious, not sleeping well. And that's the impact of stress. Now, that's an extreme example, okay? But my body didn't know, and our bodies don't know that it's just a driver or a piece of bad news about, I don't know, something's out of stock, or your boss is kind of a jerk. Your body doesn't distinguish that from being chased by a lion. And what happens is when you put out the cortisol, a bunch of things happen. So you put out cortisol from your adrenals, that's the stress, the fight, flight, or fright hormone, and it comes out and it immediately says to the liver, whoa, a lion's coming. So right now, detox is not the focus. The focus needs to be putting sugar into our bloodstream so we can run from the lion. Your liver holds stores of sugar in chains. It's called glycogen. And when you need quick energy, or maybe you're hypoglycemic, your liver puts out glycogen stores. And so that you break that down quickly into sugar so you can run from the lion. Okay, but then you don't do detox. It simultaneously says to the gut, oh, we don't need to be digesting right now because we're about to use all of our resources for running. So shut down, just hang out, hang tight, don't do anything. And so whatever you're in the midst of digesting stops. Okay. And that's when the bacteria that are meant to digest you when you die, the anaerobic bacteria, are like, cool, we have a feast here. And they get to act and they cause gas and bloating. And simultaneously, that cortisol signals the body to put sugar to the large muscles so that you can run. Except when that goes on over and over and over, what happens is it turns into a dysfunctional system. So the system still works, but now, because you're in the state of chronic stress, you start to gain weight and deposit it in your belly. It's angry fat. It's inflammatory. You're gaining weight there. You're not recovering as well. And don't forget, you've shut down your detox and your liver work. Now, if you did that once a year, who cares? Okay. But we're doing it on a chronic basis. The alarm goes off, we get stressed. Brooke, you don't have kids yet, right?
Mm-mm. Nope.
No? Okay. But Andrea, you have kids and I have kids, and I'm like, just getting them out of the house in the morning is stressful. And then sitting down to my day. So just getting yourself out of the house is stressful. Like this morning, I go to get my clothes. We're in the midst of renovating the bathroom because there was mold. And I said, I'm not gonna just renovate a bathroom. I'm gonna rip it out, make sure there's no mold, fix it all, blah, blah, blah. But the contractor's like, I have a few questions. Okay, a few is a half an hour actually for him. So, and then I have a meeting with someone while I'm getting ready. So by the time I even get ready to leave the house, I've had 2 meetings and I'm super like, oh my God, I'm all stressed. I forgot my bra. My brain's not working properly. Like I'm a mess this morning, right? So those types of things happen 100 times a day. And so our systems get very challenged with the stress. And then we get anxious and we're not digesting our food properly. So we don't get the proper nutrients that we need. And then it comes sort of like this feed forward. If you get some gas and bloating, maybe you don't want to eat as much, maybe you restrict, maybe you change your diet, and it starts to be the rat wheel where you make changes unintentionally, and at the end of it, you're not happy.
I love that you're bringing this up in the way that you're talking about it too, because it's so relatable, right? We have so many things, whether you have kids or not, there's a million things, you're pulled in different directions, and we shove our calendars full of everything that we can. Like we want to have this big life and do all these things, but there's a cost. Right. And yes, we can talk about mindset and little ways to relieve stress and weave them in. And it's very important. But what I want to talk about is, you have, as a physician, the fact that you're talking about this is huge, because in these offices, that's not what we're talking about. Now, there are physicians are asking us about, if, we want a medication for depression, or if we want a medication or a Band-Aid, like a quick fix type of situation. But you as a physician have a plethora of questions. And in your book, you talk about them too. And so, I know it's, as a functional doc, it's different than a standard Western doc, or what I'm talking about. I would get in a doctor's office. But I think that's so important to talk about how you as a physician are having a very different discussion, and what people should expect if they're having this plethora of symptoms, what the discussion should look like in the office. So can you kind of talk about what that's like with you and your husband, and the way that you handle care of people that have all of these symptoms?
Yeah, you bet. Our premise is, I told you our premise, that you're meant to be vital, vibrant, healthy, alive, able, and interested in intimacy till you're at least 100. That is the foundation of our work. So my husband and I both were trained in listening. Now, I'm not perfect. I screwed up. But when I'm with patients in an intake, we kind of separate the visit into a couple of parts. So the first part is, you tell me what's going on for you, and I'm going to collect data. And while you're doing that, I'm listening for, we called our company 5 journeys, because there are 5 independent but interrelated journeys you take to health. There's your physical body. That's your bones, muscles, ligaments, posture, exercise, muscle strength. Then there's your chemistry. That's what people think of in functional medicine. That's your digestion, hormones, toxins, nutrients, what you're eating, how you're eating. Then, and that's the testing for all of that, your gut health. Then there's your emotional health. What is the conversation you're having with yourself? Because we're super unkind to ourselves, and it's stressful. And you can, just by having a thought, oh, you're so stupid, or you always do that, oh, you're never going to be good, nobody's going to love you. All those thoughts that we have, they translate into dysfunction in the body. So what's your relationship to yourself? What's your relationship to others? Are you isolated, or are you part of a community? And then, why are you here? What is your purpose? What is your legacy? What are you trying to accomplish? That's your spiritual health. Those 5 things are really your health, not just, is your blood pressure good and are you anemic, right? That's a pretty low bar. So in an intake, we're listening for what's out of whack here. And we're talking about your sleep, your sex drive, your gut health, your mood, your energy. If you have any pain in your body, we're talking about basically everything about you, head to toe. And then in that conversation, people will often bring up, oh yeah, I went through a divorce, or my kids. They'll allude to something that we dive into. So we collect the data, and then we're looking for, okay, where do we need to focus our attention? Because at least 2 areas, if not 3, we need to work on so that you can feel amazing. And it's ongoing and it's fluid, right? You hit your midlife stride and you're like, wait, what I was here for is no longer moving, touching, and inspiring me. Well, we need to look at the spiritual. All women between the ages of 40 and 65 go through this, hey, oh my God, is this my legacy? Like, what's next for me? Am I in the right job? Am I in the right relationship? Am I in the right marriage? What am I doing for a career? So asking the questions helps me understand. And then based on what's the highest priority, we make a plan for, okay, typically when we're looking at the foundation of your health, round 1, right? It's not, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not going to fix your health in a day, but we're going to get great data. And round 1 is your adrenal health, your gut health, your general minerals and nutrients, your food sensitivities. Start with those and iterate, right? Because you can't detox on a broken foundation. So if your gut's a mess, I can't go to heavy metals, because you won't tolerate the treatment. You'll get sick, and then you'll write me a 1-star review. That's not good for any of us, right? So foundations first: gut health, adrenal health, liver health, general nutrient status, and food intake. Basics. Are you sleeping? Are you moving your body? Do you have relationships that we need to get rid of, or do we have relationships you need to build? Like once a year, I'll say to someone, I can't help you because your toxic relationship or toxic job is so powerful, it's going to override everything that I could do. It's not that often, but sometimes someone will come in and I'm like, I can't help you. We got to fix this first, and then I can help you.
Yeah.
So we start with just evaluation and figuring out like what's not working for you, because everything has a cause, right? You say to me, oh, everyone in my family has autoimmune disease. And my response is sure. You live in similar places, eat similarly, have similar genetics, think similarly. And so, of course, when you develop a manifestation of disease, it's going to look similar because you all have sort of predisposition to go down the pathway, right? But it's not really that. It's just that that's what you're predisposed to, and you're all living similarly and developing similarly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just because you have it doesn't mean you're stuck with it.
No,
You talk
a
about
lot of immune, it's reversible.
Yeah.
Autoimmune disease is reversible.
Yeah. And people, I'm thinking about my experience and people I've talked to who go to endocrinologists, or they say, I have this autoimmunity. It's something I have for life.
I disagree.
So let me say it this way. What would you recommend people go to their GI doc versus a functional doc? Like, how do you know which route to take? To someone listening who's like, I have constipation or I've got a thyroid issue, do you say see functional docs, or no, there's a time and place for endocrinologists, or fill in the blank?
I think this is a great question. Okay, so in the traditional system, if you have a mechanical issue, a tumor, a ruptured appendix, a baby, a fetus inside you, any type of pregnancy conversation, if you have a cyst that's not resolving, if you have something mechanical, functional medicine will rarely be the appropriate place. You want to be in the traditional system. If you have an emergency, a mechanical issue, or an obstetrical thing, you want to be in the traditional system, right? Because pregnancy, first of all, is not a state of imbalance, but there's nothing to fix, right? It's simply, we want to keep you healthy, but you're going to need to deliver that baby. So you're going to want to be in the traditional system. Ruptured appendix, functional medicine is not your place. Blockage in your stool, functional medicine is not your place. But when you get so it's funny, my good friend's family member has breast cancer and is really into this approach and is like, wait, do I treat it with functional medicine? And I said, the way I view functional medicine is you do what you can to prevent disease. Then if you get a disease that requires a mechanical fix, you do the mechanical fix. And then you go back to the functional medicine to prevent it from occurring. So you use the right tools for the problem. So if you have severe constipation, I can usually fix that. If you have a mass blocking your colon, I can't fix that. I'm not the right person for you, right? So you have to go to the right place. And absolutely, so I'm a gynecologist. My husband's a family doc. We mostly have family docs and internists. There comes a point where if you have brittle diabetes, I'm not going to manage you. If you have type 1 diabetes, I probably won't manage you. But on my watch, you should not be getting type 2 diabetes. I want to reverse that. I want to reverse the trend and prevent it. But if you already have diabetes, we probably need the endocrinologist to weigh in. So it depends where you are in your journey and what you're up against.
Oh, Brooke and I love finding doctors like you, Dr. Wendie, because what I love about you, number one, you don't claim to know everything, and you know there's a time to see somebody else, and you're not afraid to say it. If your doctor thinks they know everything and they make you feel crazy, it's not the right doctor for you. I love that, because I think having that team effort of, this is my specialty, but I'm also not going to just dismiss you. Like, it sounds like you're a problem solver. And I love that as a physician, that it's like, we're going to get you to an answer, and it might not be me. It might be you and your toxic relationship first. Let's go fix that. Like, I just love that you're always pivoting, and that it's not this, I know everything and you're crazy. You know,
Well, it should be a standard of care of, okay, here's what I can offer. I don't know all the answers for you, but here's what I would recommend. And I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to tell you to go to a pain management clinic, which is what happened to me. And I said,
which is what you were told. God, your story is nails on a chalkboard. It's so wrong. Not that you're wrong. The fact that you were said these things is just wrong.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'm having like this coming to Jesus moment where I was tearing up as you were speaking, because it's what I wish I had and so many women need. There is such a gap. And I don't know if it was growing up in Wisconsin where functional medicine just wasn't discussed, or if it's just becoming more prevalent now where, hey, there are these other ways to get help. And I want everyone to have access to you, Dr. Wendie. So where can people find you? What would you recommend? You know, if there was some ways for people to just get more familiar with you or to reach out and establish care with you, where can they go?
Yeah, there's two ways to hang out with me. So one, we have bricks and mortar. We have two locations. We have a location in Newton, Massachusetts and Boston, Massachusetts. We decided we're going to grow like the creeping crud. So we're just going to grow slowly and grow outward because we started in Newton. So that's our medical practice. We take insurance. We have a membership practice. We do functional medicine. We do primary care for people who need it. Massachusetts state law requires that you come to Massachusetts to establish care, and then after that, you can be remote. So that's for people who are, um, it's the SAS category, like you're sick as sin and you really need medical intervention. Like you're at your wit's end, you've seen 50 doctors. If you're listening and you've seen more than 3 doctors and you don't feel amazing, it's really, that's the appropriate place for you is in our practice. And then we have, excuse me, we have an online brand because not everyone can come to Boston. And that online brand is dip your toe in, right? So do I like her? Does this work for me? Through the online brand, I'm sorry, the bricks and mortar is 5journeys.com. The online brand is drwendie.com. And in that brand, we do coaching, we do group programs to clean up your life, we do limited testing, and we have supplements. So it's more of a community-based behavior, but you can also do some limited testing for like, what are the top environmental toxins in my body? We do that through that program. And that's drwendie.com. And then I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Wendie Trubow MD. Probably Instagram is my favored site. And I have a free gift for people so that they can get started, right? Dip your toe in. You can read chapter 1 of the book. You can get take a quiz to see how toxic you are, and you can get a non-toxic guide to healthy living so that you can start leveling up. Because I went through this. I did all the work, so you don't have to do the work, right? I've already done the wrong stuff and the right stuff and put it all in a guide. So that's at drwendie.com/gift.
I love it. It's such a variety pack, right? Like what feels like not stressful to dip your toe into. I like how you said that because sometimes a membership feels like a lot, or traveling to Boston could feel like, I need that. I need her.
But
like,
we're going to Boston. I hope you know that.
I got to run the marathon there.
Oh, you're going to run the marathon?
Well, I need to. I'm running one in every state, and that's on my list. I keep qualifying for it so that whenever I want to go.
And I'm the content girly that I'm now going to take content and film her crossing the finish line. So I might as well come see you too, and 2 for 1.
If you're going to come to Boston in the spring. There's a song. John Dever wrote the song. Please come to Boston for the springtime. So come in April.
Okay.
And you and I will talk. I mean, Brooke, you really need to be in the functional medicine world, right?
Yeah, and I am. I've seen different practitioners, and we've got some rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask about a little more. But I would love to see you, and then I can tell everyone too my experience. And
yes,
excited.
And I just want to hit home too. The book Dirty Girl is such a great place to start too, because having something in your home, like I was thinking about having this book whenever I don't feel overwhelmed by it, to open up and be like, okay. She mentioned whenever I'm buying lotions to look for this, or when I want to look up sunscreen and see what toxins are, and I can go to EWG. And if I want to, whatever it is that you're wanting to dive into, I feel like having Dirty Girl, the book, in your home is such a good idea, because it can be overwhelming sometimes. And then other times it's not. And so to have something in your home that's reminding you it's important what you put in here, I just think it's such a valuable resource to have. So thank you for writing it.
Can I jump in there?
Yes.
Because you really brought up an amazing point that everyone needs to remember. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're never going to be perfect. You are going to screw it up. And the goal is just make improvements. And the time to make the improvement in something is when you're running out of it. So, and I'll give you, so when you're running out of your laundry detergent, you're running out of your window cleaner, you're running out of your floor cleaner, that's the time to level up. It's not like you look around and you go, oh, I have to deal with my whole house. No, you have to deal with what you're running out of. Facial products, makeup, skin products. As you're running out, that's when you want to level up. And if I can, would you like me to share a few brands that I love and are clean and certified, just to make it easy on people?
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't to say this is the only brand. It's simply there's some brands that I found that I love and that I use. So for beauty care, that's for facial stuff, any type of serum and lotion, as well as most of my makeup is Beauty Counter. Okay. So that's one. It's Environmental Working Group certified. It's super clean. I love Purity Woods. It's not Environmental Working Group certified, but it's 100% organic. That's for anti-aging creams. For cleaning your house, that includes floor, windows, bathroom, and laundry and dishwashing detergent. I love Aspen Clean. You know, I've got 4 kids. We do a lot of laundry. They have auto ship and they're Environmental Working Group certified. So that's great. There's other brands too, but these are the brands that my go-to brands essentially. And then if you can, don't dry clean your clothes because it's formaldehyde. Unless they say they're using steam, it's a form of formaldehyde. Even when they say, oh, it's clean, it's not. Don't trust it.
Interesting. Would you say, because I feel like people could argue that these quote unquote clean, non-toxic products don't work as well as the chemicals. What do you say to those people?
Okay, so here's the one gap that there's 2 gaps that I've found, okay? One, if you have some gnarly, really nasty oil stain, you're right, it won't work as well. Okay? I struggle with that. And then if you have moldy towels, it's really hard to get those not moldy. So sometimes we'll use vinegar, but it doesn't always get it. So those are the 2 gaps. But otherwise, what are you doing when you clean your house? Are you looking for sterility or are you looking for cleanliness? It won't make your house sterile, but you don't want to make your house sterile. That's partly how we've gotten into this autoimmune bucket in the first place, is that we're too clean. And so the immune system gets confused. So they work really well to clean. They won't kill mold, but the stuff that kills mold is super toxic. So except for killing mold, it really works well.
I love that.
And I
Great
don't know, I would
question.
argue that I look pretty darn good for an old broad.
You do. You look amazing.
I'm an old broad, but I look good, right? And beauty. So getting rid of the toxins, I don't drink any alcohol, I don't eat sugar, and then all these products that really enhance, they work.
Do you drink coffee?
No.
I knew that
I'm
answer.
pretty hyper, so jacking me up on any type of caffeine is not a good idea because I'm already like kind of jacked.
Yeah. I think you could argue too that when your systems are working in place, you don't need the extra caffeine. You don't need to block the fatigue because you don't have fatigue in the first place. Am I right in saying that?
I would say I have fatigue. I mean, I have 4 kids and 4 businesses and I work all the time and I have my own, I work on my health a lot. So I do feel sometimes, I don't like Tuesdays because I go to sleep at the same time, but I get an hour earlier on Tuesdays because I have an early appointment. So every Tuesday I'm like, oh, I'm tired today.
Fun fact, it's a Tuesday.
And it's a Tuesday.
Hopefully we've made your Tuesday a little better.
You made my Tuesday amazing. But when I wake up on Tuesdays, I'm like, oh, I missed that hour of sleep, right? So I do feel fatigued, but I haven't experienced that coffee makes me feel less fatigued. In fact, it just makes me anxious and jittery. So it's not giving me energy. It's just making me like shaky. So, and then there's pesticides and mold in coffee. So I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I got rid of coffee and I felt better. I was like, I know it's not a bad thing intrinsically. It's just for a lot of us, it's overused.
I love that. I feel like we could keep going, which we are going to keep going. We do have some more questions, but I love that you're so full of information. It just gives me and everybody else an extra reason to follow you. And I feel like too, just like shooting you a message or seeing what you're doing day to day would be so intriguing to follow along. So I'm glad you have a social presence. But how we wrap up every show, first of all, our 3 gold stars. So 3 big takeaways. If people are just tuning in now and they want to take away 3 things from you, what would you really hit home for them?
You are meant to feel freaking amazing. And obviously that's not realistic to do every single day, every moment of every day. But when you take a big look at it, the sum of it, you should feel freaking amazing. And if you don't, there's an opportunity to level up and feel better. And don't chalk it up to, oh, I'm just getting older, or everyone in my family has that, or don't settle for that because it's not real. You're meant to feel freaking amazing, and you have a unique gift that you're supposed to give to the world. And if you don't feel well, you can't give it to the world. So that's point 1.
Wow. Point 1 is Jesus. Mic drop. Okay, what is 2?
I think I blew it on the first one. I think the first was the best. The second is you matter and take it slowly. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to don't give up, right? The only way to lose this game is if you don't play it. So stay in the game and do your best and forgive yourself when you screw it up. Okay. I once bought a 4-month supply of what I thought was clean laundry detergent. It turned out it wasn't. So I put it on auto ship. I use it for 4 months. It's terrible. Then I re-up. It's still terrible. And then I realized I never looked it up. So be kind to yourself, right? You're going to screw it up. It's okay. Just when you figure it out, fix the problem. Okay. So don't panic is the second one. And then the third one is just do it as it comes. So level up what you're running out of. Use the book as your detox Bible. I should have called it that, the detox Bible, right? So use it as your detox Bible. Don't go back to part 2. Don't panic. Go back to point 1. Remember who you're meant to be, and just keep iterating. Right? That's all it's about. Just keep iterating.
I love that. There's no end is what really helps me. It empowers me to think there's so many different things you can do. And it's a lifelong journey. Like I'm now 6 years into this and I'm still learning things. I'm still making changes. And it's about the intention of, okay, how can I feel better and better, knowing there's no end goal.
And I want to reiterate what you just said, because it can be overwhelming to think that it never ends. But if you have the mindset of, I keep feeling better and better along this journey, that makes it exciting instead of overwhelming. I think that's crucial with this, with thinking of what you can remove and what you can do and how that can be like overwhelm. Instead, thinking of it like, how much better could we feel, makes it way more exciting.
Yeah. Okay, that gets me into my question. So our next segment is Unleashing Ivy, so our rapid fire questions. And mine has to do with getting multiple different opinions. I've seen a lot of doctors. I've been told a lot of different things as far as mold toxicity isn't a thing. No, you do have mold. Here's what you should do, different protocols. And now my thing is they think that I'm getting parasites in my wisdom teeth cavities. And I've been hearing a lot about holistic dentists. So for those who maybe have heard similar things, what would you say?
I would say mold toxicity is a thing. Absolutely. It is. I mean, look, 1 out of every 2 buildings has been water damaged. And when it's not properly remediated, mold grows. And if you're genetically susceptible and you get exposed, you're going to get sick. It's a thing. It's fixable. It's not your future, A. B, parasites are everywhere. There's like 57 billion of them to every one of us. So you can't live a life without parasites, but what you want to do is not have the parasites torture you. And you can have, these are cavitations. They're not cavity. When we say cavity, it's more like an abscess or an opening or a space that parasites and other bugs are in. So you certainly can have an abscess in your mouth and it makes you not well until you open it up. And in fact, I'm in a mastermind with a woman who's a biologic dentist, and she shows this thing about opening up a cavitation, an opening, and out comes a worm in someone's mouth. I know. I haven't had the guts to watch it yet because I'm like, I can't. I literally can't do that. But so and it can make you sick. So yes, oral health is a microcosm of the rest of your health. And so it's very important to get your mouth taken care of. And I'm 100% proponent of a biologic dentist, especially if you have silver fillings, which are mercury, but also if you have something weird going on, keep looking. But your mouth definitely is a source of potential improvement in your health.
Yeah. We have to get on a biological dentist because I feel like I have a bunch of questions about. I've had so much work done with root canals and an implanted tooth, and a lot of these things were in your quiz that I'm like, what does that mean for my mouth?
Well, and it makes sense because the way it was explained to me was it's damp and that's where bacteria grows. So I don't know. I'm just full of parasites over here.
We all are, but it's really about getting rid of the ones that are torturing you.
How do you know which ones are torturing you?
You don't feel well. I mean, it's not like you go, oh, that's the one, or that's the one. It's more when you treat the gut and the mouth and the system and the adrenals and the liver that you go, oh, I actually feel, that you have the experience that you feel good. And that's the goal.
Yeah, it's the cleanup.
All right. My question is for me of being more of the person that you don't feel chronic fatigue. You don't really have chronic issues that are really screaming at you, but you're regularly drinking a bunch of coffee and you're regularly eating a bunch of sugar. Why would you say it's important for me to explore that addiction? Maybe do like the 2 week of no sugar or caffeine, like, well, I should say coffee, not caffeine. Why would you say that's important for me to explore and try?
I like this question because what you're asking me is why should I do something if I don't notice ill effects from it, right?
Well, I do. They're just really minor, like skin issues, like
Things you can live with.
like
They're not
I
really
know my
affecting
skin
you.
would probably be a little bit better if I didn't eat sugar, but like, why would you say it could be really beneficial for me to explore cutting out coffee and sugar?
It's not about cutting out coffee and sugar for the sake of cutting out coffee and sugar. It's cutting them out so that you can reach your ideal potential for how you feel. And if either of those is messing with you, right now we don't know if they're messing with you. Sugar, I said it was the devil earlier in this conversation. Sugar and alcohol are the devil because what they do is the sugar messes up your gut so much and the alcohol messes up your liver so much. And so they just throw our systems off track. So short term, you might not need to get rid of sugar. But if you have any history of diabetes or heart disease or cancer or degenerative disease or autoimmune disease in your family, then eating sugar, because it's so inflammatory, puts you at risk for those diseases. And so then there's the short term, like, can you fix your skin? Would you improve your energy? Would anything change if you got rid of it? Or would anything change long term? Have you had an evaluation? Because when we're doing our intake, our evaluation is what's not working for you right now, and what's your long-term risk of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, what's your inflammation? So we're looking at this dual track, and I think that's valuable to look at, like, what's your risk? Because if you're amazing and you feel amazing, you don't have to listen to any of this, right? This is for the people who don't feel freaking amazing. If you don't feel freaking amazing, there's an opportunity, and that's when it's important to get rid of sugar, caffeine, the moldy coffee. If you're going to drink coffee, make sure it's tested for mold and doesn't have pesticides in it because it's super, super dirty. So that's all I really care about. Not the coffee, but the cleanliness of it.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's thinking of the long-term stuff. Cause right now I feel pretty good. I haven't had alcohol in like 80 days. But I'm noticing I'm turning more to sugar. I'm like, I have more sugar cravings, or it's like, you want that dopamine hit of something that tastes really good. And so my skin is getting affected by it. So it's something I'm exploring.
Yeah, I mean, I learned I was sensitive to like either rancid or seed oils, things that are fried. And I'm super vain, and I'm not going to be on camera with a big, massive inch cystic thing on my forehead. So I got rid of all that. So I don't generally eat, like, the thing that I identified was really not working was we had all these nighttime meetings and um, we had snacks, and we brought Trader Joe's organic corn dippers, which are literally, if I could eat that for the rest of my life, I would, because I love it. Except it didn't love me back. And I got these massive, like, I mean, we're talking, it was an inch.
Yeah.
And there were like 3 of them. And I went, okay, I guess I don't do well with that, right? So it's either the seed oil or the that it's rancid or that it's fried. Either way, my face did not like it. So I always feel like avoidance of pain is a really good motivator. And then vanity is a really good motivator, at least for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to look bad. I want to feel good and I don't want to look bad. It's both.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you look good, you feel like you look good, you feel better.
Yeah.
You show up differently. Your confidence is better. It totally makes sense.
And I was totally getting those cystic pimples in.
And they hurt.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. So it's whatever motivates you. And I think too, a big part of it is stress. Like if it's stressing you out to cut these things out or focus on these things, like wait until it's not, because stress is number one.
Yeah. Okay. My question, last question. If you could go back and tell Dr. Wendie one thing, younger Dr. Wendie.
Maybe before she was a doctor.
Ooh. Yeah. What would you tell her?
Oh, I think about this a lot because I had undiagnosed celiac for about 20 years before I got diagnosed, and it really set the stage for not doing well. So what would I tell me? I would tell me you are enough and you don't have to do the hardest things just to prove yourself. And I would tell myself, my younger self, that Anything that you notice, any part of your body that you notice is a problem. Your body should be invisible. It should just function. Like your right elbow is what I use as an example. So I would tell myself, anything that's bothering you needs to be actually evaluated, full stop. Don't just take it for, oh, you're getting older. Because I was pretty sick when I was younger and I just didn't even know. I just pushed through. So don't push through is what I would tell myself.
I love that. For anybody listening that feels like you've got this constant nagging, like you deserve to feel good. And it shouldn't be something that's the constant conversation in your mind. So thank you so much for everything you said. I feel like I have 3,000 more questions. So I feel like this is not the end of our conversations. I'm so happy you wrote a book. I'm so happy we have access to. Thank you for your time, for sitting down with us, and for our 50,000 random questions we had on this episode. We appreciate you so much and are grateful that you're creating this community for people to feel seen and heard and like they have a place to go where someone will ask them the question they need to ask. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on and thanks for doing the work you're doing. It makes a difference.
Absolutely. And we leave our listeners with what we call a piece of gold. Your favorite quote. Would you please sign off and share your quote with us?
I think it's Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.